This is Texans TV. Texans Extra Points is sponsored by Community Coffee, strong as our roots, by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans, and by your Houston area Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas, and by Emoji, the official business bank of the Houston Texans.
Are you angry? I know some of you out there are angry. This is Texans Extra Points. I'm Drew Dougherty. I'm the host. We got Brandon Scott and Cody Stoots. Are you guys angry?
Man, I'm ready to get after it.
You're ready to get after it? What about you?
I'm about to turn into the Hulk. I'm so angry.
All right, well, we are going to do some of that. But first, we got to get into quick hits. We got to let people know what's going to happen today on Texans Extra Points because Houston taking on Tennessee in Tennessee. We got two keys to a victory a little bit later on. Plus, we have a Texan to watch against those Titans. And we're going to do some X's and O's with the telestrator, and I get to go one-on-one with fullback Andrew Beck. He of the kickoff return for a score earlier this season. He's going to be a lot of fun, but we got to get back to that whole anger thing because the Houston Texans are playing the Houston Oilers, at least in uniform this week. So, Brandon Scott, Cody Stoots, we begin. Anger or apathy that they're wearing their threads?
I'm angry because nobody in the Titans organization cares except for the higher-ups. The Amy Adams Strunk and the front office people. The players like them because they look good. Like, the uniforms are cool. They're legendary. They look great. But the players don't care that it used to be the Oilers uniform that the Titans used to be in. They don't care. They want the game check. They want to win on Sunday. They don't care about the uniforms. But the higher-ups want to stick it to H-Town. That's what makes me angry.
All right, he's angry. How about you?
Yeah, I don't like it, so I'm leaning toward angry. I reached a point of acceptance a long time ago about the reasons why they left and the circumstances. And look, the Houston area has the Texans now. So we're on a whole new era, a whole new wavelength now. But the old uniforms, the Oilers uniforms, and like Cody mentioned, they look so sweet. They conjure up, emotions and ideas of the past. I don't like it, and the reasons why they're doing it, I feel like, are to agitate. So I don't like the motivation behind it.
Yeah, and they've got us talking about it to lead this show. So hey, well done, you got me. I'm calloused, but I'm still angry to a degree. All right, let's talk about the actual football teams itself. We'll begin with you. Whether or not C.J. Stroud plays, probably not going to happen. So let's do a case for Case and a case for Davis. But let's begin. Optimism for Case Keenum. Where is it?
Yeah, so the optimism for Case Keenum is fairly high considering what a backup quarterback is going to offer you. Look, it's not an ideal situation if you're in the situation of having to play your backup quarterback. But Case Keenum has played a lot of football, obviously a legend here locally. And let's not forget about the Minneapolis Miracle. I feel like that's something that Case is going to be able to live off of literally for the rest of his life. So, you think about some of the past success that he's had. Like, technically, he's probably had the most success as anybody in the quarterback room on this team. So when you think about it from that standpoint, you can make a case for Case.
Case has seen it all. Davis Mills, there are some positives there, aren't there?
I'm excited to see what Davis brings to the table. I was thinking about it earlier this year. He's got to be a top 10 backup in the league with the amount of games that he's played in, the amount of starts that he's had. And this is an offense that is quarterback friendly, and it's been very friendly to backups in the past. Davis Mills, he may not have the experience that Case Keenum has, but as far as being in this offense, executing it, and just the talent, the arm talent, Davis has got a little bit more juice in the arm than Case does. So getting it deep to one of these wide receivers for a big play, I trust Davis Mills to be able to do something like that.
Okay, so whoever's throwing the football, let's complete this sentence. If blank happens on offense, the Texans win this game. And no, you can't say if they score more points. If blank happens on offense, aside from scoring more points.
Protect the quarterback.
Okay.
The Titans get after it. They are 5th in the league in sacks. Every time the Titans have had a win or a near win, they have just demolished the opposing quarterback. You have got to protect whoever the quarterback is. Give them time to execute, make plays.
All right.
I hope this doesn't seem too obvious. I know you said not outscoring the opponent, but we need a surprise performer. We need someone to emerge that is obviously not C.J. Stroud. That's not Tank Dell. These are guys that are not going to be available to you more than likely in this game. So who is the surprise performer? And this offense, I'll give them credit. This offense has done a really good job of spreading the ball around and spreading the wealth. Who's going to be the surprise performer in this game? You need one.
Okay, let's do spin the wheel then. That was what we're going to ask later. But spin the wheel, pass catcher-wise, we've seen somebody rise up in almost every game this season and have a big one. Didn't happen last week, but Who's your guy catching the ball?
I got to feel like it's going to be Robert Woods.
Okay.
He's going back to the team that he played for previously. He's their most experienced guy, going back to the earlier points about Case Keenum. And then also, Robert Woods was C.J. Stroud's most reliable guy on third down early on in the season. We know how much the guys in the locker room respect Robert Woods for what he's done in his career and what he's done since he's been here. So that's somebody that I'd be looking out for.
Captain for a reason. Who's your pass catcher?
Can I cheat and take all the tight ends?
Sure.
Right.
It's that type of
Dalton
show.
Schultz,
Yeah.
Brevin Jordan, even Andrew Beck catch the ball out of the field when he lines up at tight end. So tight ends, they're a quarterback's best friend, especially if you want to get the ball out quick. We just talked about protecting the quarterback. You want to get it out quick, that tight end runs that 3-4 yard route, turns around, hit the big fella, let him work. And Brevin Jordan's been taking care of business past couple weeks.
Yeah.
You add back in Dalton Schultz, the tight ends.
All right, I love having you guys on the show because you'll put stuff on a tee for me and make it so easy. You just said the name Andrew Beck. Well, I'm going to say it again because here is part of our conversation with the fullback/tight end. Fullback Andrew Beck is the guest, taking on the Tennessee Titans in Nashville. Andrew, as an offense, how do you guys bounce back from what we saw last week in New York?
It's kind of getting back to the things we know we do well. Executing on first and second down, not letting the elements affect us on third down. Obviously, that's a spot where we're trying to, space it out and throw it a little bit. And, that the rain can have an effect, and I think it's going to be raining again this week. So, knowing that going into it and controlling what we can control, I think that's all it is. I mean, the good news is we don't have to reinvent the wheel to get back to what we've been doing. But as far as, whoever's available, we have a really good next man up mentality and knowing that we have the playmakers in our room to do it.
Yeah, earlier in the season, we saw those 2 games where you guys get 100 yards on the ground from Singletary. You saw some flashes last week against New York. How do you keep that going on a more consistent basis, you think?
I mean, that's the thing is just finding the consistency. I think, up front it starts with us handling movement in games and on the line and, playing on their side of the ball. I think that's been the key to our offense ever since Coach Slowick got here and installed it. The very first thing he said is, boys, if we're going to be successful, we're going to play on the defensive side of the line of scrimmage. And if we get back to that, fortunately for us, it doesn't matter who lines up on the other side of the ball. We can handle business as long as we get back to the fundamentals of what we do, which is run off the ball, playing on their line of scrimmage, and being decisive in every aspect. And we can do that. And I think that, the more guys know that and understand that it's reassuring to them. And, you play better with a little bit of confidence behind you. So just getting back to the confidence that we need, I think will be good for us.
No doubt. You're facing a team in Tennessee. They've done some nice things. Monday Night Football held a pretty potent Miami Dolphins offense in check. What stands out to you the most about their front 7?
The one diversity that they play with. They have a couple of different out of base and nickel. They have a couple of different things that they'll throw out there. So it's, knowing who's on the field and where they're lining up. They got a couple of really good players. The backers fly around. Their edge guys are physical, and same with their interior guys. They got some big guys that can play in the middle. So again, it just gets back to doing what we do best and, controlling what we can control and, getting after them.
The snap, Tannehill looking left, throws that way to Ferkser. It's tipped and picked off, and Whitney has it. He's running across the 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, right sideline, the 50. He's being chased, the 35, 30, 20, 15, 10, and knocked out near the 10-yard line. A deflection and a pick at a big time as the Rock Boys celebrate the takeaway.
Oh, we love Whitney Merciless. We love that play against the Titans in 2019. Almost took it to the house. Justin Reed was in on that too. Drew Dougherty, Brandon Scott, Cody Stoots. Guys, we got a lot to discuss defensively, so let's get into this. Will Levis, quarterback for the Titans, is getting sacked on average 3 times a game. So let's set it at 2.5. Over under. Texans going to hit that? No.
I feel like I'm in the crowd at The Price is Right. Higher, higher,
Let's go.
higher.
Okay.
I mean, Sheldon Rankins, Malik Collins, Jonathan Grenard in the middle of his career year. How are they not getting home? And the thing about Levis is he will move around and move into pressure, and somebody who maybe is not your typical sack guy will pick him up and take care of business. Maybe a Jalen Petrie darting in there for a quarterback sack on a blitz. I like that. I like that number to be way high.
Okay.
Yeah, and see the point that he makes about a Jalen Petrie or even a Dez King, also a former Titan, somebody from the secondary jumping in to get that extra one. Because, look, I think Jonathan Grenard's good for 2 sacks. He had one in the last game. He's a double-digit sack guy. Cody mentioned Sheldon Rankins. They got enough to get pressure on the interior as well. So look out for one of those secondary guys, maybe a linebacker, to get that 3rd sack.
Ring it up. I'm cool with that. You just brought up Sheldon Rankins. How important has Sheldon and Malik Collins been this season there on the interior?
Oh, I really feel like that was a spot where they needed to get stronger. They already had Malik coming in. They extended him and then brought in Sheldon Rankins. And I always thought that the addition of Sheldon Rankins would be an important one, and we've seen that. He's had really big games for them so far. And look, this is the type of football team that DeMeco Ryans wants, a physical. They talk about how it starts up front with the defensive line. Well, you got to be pretty strong up front. It's a huge reason why they're a lot better against the run this year, so I think it's been tremendous.
And you know they're hearing all week long about, well, Zach Wilson was the AFC Offensive Player of the Week, and he did that against the Texans. Now they're facing a rookie in Will Levis, but tell me about the importance of the interior of that D-line and what they mean to this game.
We'll just be able to get the push to slow down the rushing attack so that Will Levis has to go out there and make a play. Look, Derrick Henry beats you. He's not supposed to beat you. You're supposed to slow him down. Make Will Levis beat you. Make the rookie quarterback beat you. And again, he holds on to the ball. He tries to do too much sometimes. That's perfect for those big fellas to finally take care of that center, that guard, and get after the quarterback.
So with that in mind, how important is the secondary this week?
Secondary, you got to take care of business, and Levis will throw you one. He will throw you one. He will give you that opportunity to take advantage of a mistake. And when you get that, you have no more drops, interceptions, no more bouncing off your hands. You got to take care of it.
I like what you said about a sack from the secondary. I could go for that.
That's
cool
absolutely. A sack from the secondary. And then also, this is kind of a get-right game or get-back game after what you did against the Jets. You probably did not have the type of performance that you wanted, giving up 30 points in the second half. And a lot of that was giving up big plays, giving up big plays in the passing game. So you got to step it up.
You know who steps it up every single time is John Harris, and he does so with the X's and O's. He does so all the time with everything he does, but specifically with the telestrator, just like he did here.
Against the Jets, the Texans had a little bit of a run game, had a little bit of success. They need to build on this, and this is a great example of how to build on it. And there are a couple of key things we need to look at, so let's go to the telestrator presented by BMW here. Now, I love this angle because it gives you an idea. The Jets are in nickel, but you're going to see essentially what this is a zone play, but the way you block it on the backside is a little different. So you're going to basically get a double here off to the linebacker, but because this is a hard angle to get to the linebacker with Shaq, what they do is they take Brevin and they insert him. So when you see the blocks, essentially what it turns into is almost like a split zone, but you would go here, 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 and then a tight end would kick out over there. But instead what you're doing is you're splitting it with George, basically, zone block, and then inserting Brevin, who makes a great block right here on C.J. Mosley. So great movement right here. They catch Quinnen Williams up high, which is great. And then look at Brev's block right there. Excellent. Now Motor has got a seam, and now he's up the field with some juice. Okay, let's look at the end zone view because now you get a good idea. Watch this double team off to the linebacker. All right, Shaq is going to turn out, and Brev's going to come in. Love this concept because it really is just a tweak off of something that they do. This is an outside zone or inside zone play. All right, and it's just a tweak. Brev's going to go inside, and because of that, now look at that cutback lane. Devin's got the vision to be able to find it, gets upfield, doesn't mess around, gets north and south, runs through some guys, and that's a big gain. This is excellent blocking, great execution. It's the kind of thing that the run game is going to need. They need space, and you can't sit there and swap paint with guys like him all day. That's a great double team, though. Look, they're lifting him up. That's what they need to do consistently. Bump off. Now you got hats on hats. Look at this right here. Hats, seam. That's what you want in the run game. That can happen, and it can happen more often than not. But they've got to take care of the down guys, as you see, and then maybe some tweaks with who you block where. Some better angles on blocks might get you freed up because you're going to have to run the ball against this tough Tennessee Titans defense this week.
Handoff for Ward on 3rd and 8. And Ward leaning forward. Flags come down. Oh, there's punching now.
Yeah, Finnegan and Andre Johnson going after it. Both of the helmets were ripped off.
Ah, yes, one of the signature moments, not just in this rivalry, but in Texans history. Cortland Finnegan getting a three-piece from Andre Johnson. I'm Drew, that's Brandon, and this is Cody. Guys, let's talk about this matchup, and let's talk about Will Levis on a scale from he's fool's gold at one end to DeAndre Hopkins saying, I saw a dog in him. He's going to be great. Where are you on the spectrum with Will Levis?
I don't know if I'm on either one of those. I'm squarely in the middle.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I was probably one of the biggest Will Levis critics in the whole draft process. I didn't believe in him. I called him Kentucky Carson Wentz, and you can still kind of see that. You can still see some of the mistakes that he makes from time to time. But man, when he dials it in and he's willing to go out there and play really hard, and D'Amico Ryans talked about it at the podium this week, he likes the mentality that he brings to the quarterback spot. He's a little bit better than I expected him to be, but he will still make too many mistakes for the quarterback.
All right, where are you on the spectrum?
Listen, we know more than anybody and better than anybody that DeAndre Hopkins can make most quarterbacks look a lot better than they actually are. Now, as far as the scale or the spectrum, I'm not necessarily going that he's fool's gold,
right,
and I'm not necessarily going that he's going to be great. But I did see some dog in him.
Yeah.
I did see some dog in him in the way that they came back, down 2 touchdowns with less than 5 minutes to go on Monday Night Football. I think it took some poise, but also some fortitude from Will Levis, if you will, to come through in that moment. So I am impressed. Do I think he's going to be a superstar? No. Do I think he's a threat? Do I think he's somebody that you got to worry about, that you got to contain, to Cody's point? Absolutely.
You just mentioned him, having DeAndre Hopkins. Watching DeAndre Hopkins the other night, I looked at it and I said, yeah, I remember all of that from his time here. He looked just like the same guy that he was in Houston.
Yeah, he's a fixer. He's a fixer. He's doing a lot for them.
You know who else does a lot is Derrick Henry. We could go on and on and on and on about all the successes he's had against this team over the last few years, but this is a different run defense. What's the challenge with Henry, and how might the Texans be better equipped than they have been over the last few years?
I like the setup for the Texans on this one, and part of it is they just don't trust Derrick Henry as much. They don't use him as much as they have. Look, a couple weeks ago against the Colts, he had a vintage throwback Derrick Henry game, but he's only gone over 100 yards a couple times this season. And coming off the Miami game where you would thought they would have pounded the rock with Henry, slowed down that pass rush a little bit, they use Spears a lot. Their backup running back.
He can play.
And he's a big target. Man, I understand when he gets going, but this is a better defensive line, a better linebacking core than the past couple years when Derrick Henry has reigned over Houston Texans land like it's his kingdom. Okay, King Henry, he's going to be a pauper this week.
Wow, he's going pretty bold.
Yeah, I think it's just simple math. Derrick Henry has slowed down a little bit, and the Texans have, to our earlier points, have actually upgraded the talent along this defensive line, this defensive front, so I think that's going to help them a lot. Now, Spears, who we mentioned, that is one that I would point out. It's like, hey, it's not just Derrick Henry that you got to stop. Spears is a legitimate threat, so they got to be up for that challenge.
All right, Texan to watch. Who is it for you against the Titans?
I'm going to go with Jonathan Grenard. You're coming off the big game. Will Levis will make some mistakes. You got to battle through long time because he'll run around and extend a play. Go out there, make a big play, make a big sack. And, oh, by the way, we talk a lot about Grenard with the sacks. Jonathan Grenard's really good at stopping the run.
He is.
Yeah.
And he's talked about it. Hey, I'm a smaller guy. People don't think I can stop the run. He can. You're going to need him this week.
Yeah, Jonathan Grenard, underrated strength. How I think because of the size, underrated strength. I think he could be an answer to this question on almost any game. But in this specific one, I'm going to go Devin Singletary.
Okay.
They have not run the ball the way that they would like to run the ball. And you've got to think, if you're going to play your backup quarterback, if you're going to be down some weapons, at some point you are going to have to rely on your running game. You're going to have to impose your will and impose that physicality that D'Amico Ryans talks about, the type of football team that this team wants to be. They need to go out there and be that and stick to the running game with Devin Singletary, I think, in this game.
All right, I'm going to go kind of off the beaten path. Xavier Hutchinson, wide receiver. His targets went up to 3 last week, and I know that's not a lot. I bet they rise even more. Look out for him. I think the rookie from Iowa State does a few things with a banged-up wide receiver core. All right, we will be right back with keys to a victory in just a moment. You're watching Texans Extra Points.
Extra Points has been sponsored by Community Coffee, Strong as Our Roots, by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans, and by Mattress Firm, the official sleep partner of the Houston Texans.
We're back. We got Cody Stoots and Brandon Scott. I'm Drew Dougherty. This is Texans Extra Points, and this is the time of the show, fellas, where we get into keys to a victory. How do the Texans unlock a win against the Tennessee Titans?
There's 2 for me, and one is when they give you a mistake, take advantage of it. The Titans They fumble the ball. Will Levis will throw an interception. He'll run into a sack. Take advantage of mistakes when you have that opportunity. Even if it's just 3 points when they fumble the ball or throw you an interception, you got to put points on the board. Take advantage of the mistakes. The other one, win on hidden yards. Cam Johnson, one of the best punters in the game. Kickoffs. The Texans have done some really good job covering those this year. Titans fired their special teams coach a couple of weeks ago, and it didn't get any better on special teams.
Yeah.
They almost handed the game to the Dolphins last week because special teams are so poor. Win those hidden yards. Take advantage of the mistakes for the Titans. You should be able to beat them.
Yeah, and I love those. After watching Monday Night Football, I can't help but just think about DeAndre Hopkins. Sticky coverage on DeAndre Hopkins. How often will you see him just wide open? And it's not like this guy needs a lot of space. How many times do you have to watch it? I don't know how many times DeAndre Hopkins has to mess over people for them to realize, hey, you should probably cover that guy. You need to be sticky on DeAndre Hopkins. If the passing game for the Jets could do what it did, certainly a guy of the caliber of DeAndre Hopkins can do that against you in this game if you don't stick to your assignments and do the things that you need to do. So sticky coverage on DeAndre Hopkins, I think, is going to be paramount. Now on the offensive side, I think that the big thing is running the ball, okay, and controlling the time of possession. These things that are somewhat cliche, I think, are going to be really important. And I would just throw in there too, red zone offense. This Titans defense, really good red zone. Not a good defense overall, but they're stingy in the red zone. When you get that opportunity to get in the red zone, you need to have a plan.
Those are great ones. I'm going to go with this. Hit Levis early and hit him often throughout the game. Make sure he knows you're there. Make him make a mistake. And then you brought up the king to a pauper. I'm not going to go that far with Derrick Henry, but instead of letting Derrick Henry play like Derrick Henry, make him play like Randy Henry or Bill Henry or just some Henry off the street,
Henry.
But not Derrick Henry. Hey, Cody, Brandon, we love being with you. Appreciate y'all coming on. Merry Christmas to all of you. And we will be back next week, same time, same place, and we're always on YouTube, so check us out there. And hey, while you're there, subscribe. We love seeing you. It'll be a lot of fun. So this has been Texas Extra Points, and we'll see you again very, very soon.